Can you go to the movies and not get popcorn? Like, genuinely, can you? Most people can't. And nobody thinks that's weird. Nobody calls that disordered eating or poor impulse control. Everyone just gets it. The movie and the popcorn are one thing. The experience is incomplete without it. I want you to hold on to that because that's basically the entire video right there. That instinct you have at the movies, that's what's happening in the ADHD brain constantly with everything. And the second you understand that, a lot of things about yourself are going to start making a lot more sense. Hi, I'm Emma. I'm an ADHD philosopher and the Gandalf of ADHD. And today, we're talking about food. So ADHD and eating. There's a lot being said about this. Research, articles, listicles, whatever. And look, I've read a lot of it. And some of it is fine, but a lot of it is being written by people looking at us from the outside and describing what they see. And from the outside, a lot of what we do looks like a problem to be fixed. I'm gonna offer you a different angle. Because I have 20 years of experience in this field, I've known hundreds of people with ADHD. I have ADHD. And what I see from the inside looks very, very different. Let's start with something that gets labeled emotional eating, because that's the big one. That's what everyone talks about. Poor emotional regulation, negative feelings, food as a coping mechanism. And okay, sure, sometimes. But I think for a lot of you, that label has never quite fit, and here's why. When I was a kid, there was a show on TV called Second Noah. And every time I would watch it, I would have 2 pudding cups. Every time. Was I emotionally dysregulated? No. Was I sad and seeking comfort? No. I was a kid watching a show I liked, and one time I was having 2 pudding cups while watching it, and that was it. That was enough. From that moment, those 2 things were one thing. The show and the puddings. A package deal. Non-negotiable. I don't know if you can tell, but I'm an adult now. And I can tell you that the ADHD brain does this constantly. It locks experiences in completely. When something feels right, when it's good, when it just sits well with you, your brain goes, this is the complete version of this experience, and we are never changing a single variable of it. I went through multiple phases with sunflower seeds. Specific shows, specific times of day, sometimes specific YouTube channels. I could feel the salt in my mouth before I even opened the bag. Was that emotional eating? Was that impulsivity? No. It was my brain completing a pattern, like a song that needs its final chord. And if you know anything about ADHDers, we love a good pattern. I'm gonna warn you ahead of time, sunflower seeds are like 1,000,000,000% fat. Apparently I got hooked on them because there was a time when I didn't eat anything really, and my mom was concerned, so she got me hooked on them so that I had some fat in me because I was a teen, and that backfired horribly. So fair warning before I'm gonna talk it up. But I think it's gonna sound familiar to a lot of you. Sunflower seeds are like the perfect ADHD food. You've got the repetitive hand motion, the small motor task of cracking them open, the intense salt hit, that little sound, that crack, which is its own tiny reward every single time. And then there's another one and another one. Every seed is its own sensory loop. There's no natural stopping point because every seed is a fresh beginning. And while all of this is happening, I'm watching something, and I'm actually watching it because my brain has enough going on. The screen, the sound, the hands, the salt, the crack, the rhythm, that it can actually stay present for the thing I wanted to watch in the first place. That's my brain completely intuitively, without any conscious strategy, finding the exact right combination of inputs to finally feel settled enough to focus. Before I know it, I've eaten through an entire bag of 5¼ ounces of sunflower seeds. And from the outside, that looks like overeating, like impulsivity, like poor impulse control, like poor portion control. And from the inside, it was just the most regulated I've felt all day. The next time someone tells you you're an emotional eater or that you eat impulsively, I want you to ask, is it possible that my brain is just exceptionally good at locking in the complete version of an experience, and that food is part of that experience? That's a very different thing, and it means something very different about you. Okay, let's talk about something that I think carries a lot of shame for a lot of people. The weight thing. Research shows that adults with ADHD have significantly higher rates of obesity than adults without ADHD. And the explanation research offers is basically impulsive eating, poor planning, emotional eating, dopamine-seeking behaviors. In other words, you have bad habits and poor self-control, and that's why. And I want to push back on that pretty hard because obesity isn't something you fall into. It has a history. It has a childhood. It doesn't appear in adulthood because someone made bad choices. So if there's a real connection between ADHD and obesity, and there is, the question isn't what ADHD behaviors are causing obesity in adults. The question is what was happening much, much earlier and why. The genes most strongly associated with obesity are largely genes involved in dopamine regulation, reward processing, the way the brain responds to pleasure and satisfaction. And those are the exact same genes that keep coming up in ADHD research, the same reward system wiring. So what we might be looking at is one genetic story. A brain and body built a certain way, and that way expresses itself as ADHD and also as a particular metabolic reality. And those things are showing up together not because one caused the other, but because they're both outputs of the same underlying biology. I want to be clear here. This is not me saying ADHD equals obesity. It absolutely does not. Plenty of people with ADHD are not obese. Plenty of obese people don't have ADHD. This is about risk. If you have ADHD and you've struggled with your weight your entire life, and you've been told over and over again that it's because you're impulsive, or you lack self-control, or you make bad choices, that story might be missing something very fundamental. Something that was there before any choice was ever made. And you deserve to know that a long time ago. Last thing, and this one is personal to me. One of the official symptoms of ADHD is, and I'm quoting here, often fails to give close attention to details. My dad had ADHD, so obviously so do I. And my mom always laughed because both he and I, separately, without ever talking about this, described cooked eggplant as a burnt tire. A burnt tire. Not, I don't like eggplants. Not, eggplant has a weird texture. Not even us saying it's rubbery. A burnt tire. Both of us. Same description. Different decades. That is almost superhuman attention to detail. Our brains picked up on something specific and real in the sensory profile of cooked eggplant that most brains just smooth over and file under fine, edible, whatever. And this is the thing I really want you to hear because I think it reframes a lot. The ADHD brain notices more. Everything arrives louder, more completely, with more dimension. The texture, the temperature, the smell, the taste, the mouthfeel, the memory of the last time you had it, all of it, all at once. All in full volume. And that is a blessing, genuinely. You experience things more completely than most people around you. Music hits differently. A really good meal hits differently. A really good moment hits differently. You're getting the full version of life while a lot of people are getting the highlight reel. And it's also exhausting because you don't get to turn it down. You don't get a quiet Tuesday. Everything is always the complete version of itself, whether you're ready for it or not, which is why so many of you eat the same thing all the time. I do this. I eat chicken with salad basically every day. 2 preparations. I rotate between them. That's it. And I want you to know I arrived at this system completely consciously. It was a solution I designed because I understood something about myself, that every new food is a sensory unknown arriving at full volume. And some days, hell, most days, I just can't afford that. I was just on vacation where I got to have whatever food I wanted every day. I hated it. I kept talking about how much I want my 2 chickens. God, it makes things so simple. Try asking an ADHDer what they want to eat and watch what happens. Because what sounds like a simple question is actually consult your internal state, assess your current sensory tolerance, imagine every possible option, anticipate every sensory quality of every one of those options, weigh them against each other, account for how much energy the preparation takes, and produce a single answer. Right now, while someone is waiting. That's an impossibly complex problem disguised as a casual question. And eating the same thing, having a small, trusted, known repertoire that your brain has already fully mapped, solves that problem completely, elegantly. It's one of the smartest things you can do for yourself. You figured that out, probably alone, probably without anyone telling you it was smart. You just knew from years of paying very close attention to your own experience what worked for your brain and what didn't, and built a system around it. That's wisdom. The research looks at all of this from the outside and sees disorder, deficit, dysregulation. And from the outside, I get it. It can look that way. But from the inside, the popcorn at the movies makes sense. The sunflower seeds make sense. The burnt tire eggplant makes sense. The chicken with salad every day rotating makes sense. It all makes sense when you understand how your brain actually works. And that's kind of the whole point.